Hi guys, I'm Heather, Petal Pink Flower Farm, and I'm out here in the Yarrow. To be honest, I should have actually recorded this video a week ago. It would have been like a little more impressive, but this week is going to be more realistic because we've been harvesting really hard off of this section of Yarrow. We have two areas where we grow yarrow on the farm, and this all came ready first. So I'll start here, but this is looking a little worked over because it is a little worked over. And then we have another section farther back on the farm that I'm going to show you after this. I'm standing here to kind of show you the height of the yarrow that I'm in. This is called Summer Berries yarrow. You've probably heard of it. It's very easy to find seeds for this. It's a mix of like warm pinks. And I started this from seed 2 years ago. When I first started farming flowers, I came across a lot of conflicting information about yarrow. I could not figure out if it was an annual or a perennial, especially the Summer Berries mix and the Colorado mix. If you guys are farming flowers, you have seen these in seed catalogs. It's a very, very popular color mix to grow. I believe that the proper way to say the name of this plant is Achillea milfolium. So there's Achillea yarrow, and then there's different like subtypes within that larger group of flowers. This is milfolium. When I first started farming, I thought that this was basically the annual variety of yarrow. I thought that I had to grow this and that it, like, you know, 1 year it would die and then I would have to start over. And I did that. I did that for 4 years. I grew my plants and I let them flower and then I ripped them out, which, by the way, is a huge pain in the neck because this plant, as a matter of fact, loves to perennialize, and it develops this pretty strong root system and actually spreads if it's left to grow another year, even the Summer Berries and the Colorado mix. So this particular section of my yarrow patch, again, Summer Berries, is so beautiful, and I started these seeds 2 years ago. So I like to start my yarrow seeds in soil blocks, and I treat them like a hardy annual. I find that I get the best crop if I start these usually the first week or two of July, let them grow, plant them out by September, then they survive the winter really, really well. I never cover these. They get frozen, they get snowed on, we have freezing rain. The yarrow does not care. Last year, I thought, okay, I'm so tired of ripping these plants out every year. They don't seem like they want to be ripped out, so I left them in. And wouldn't you know, they came back perfectly fine for a second year, and they're very, very tall. They're extremely prolific, and as a matter of fact, I didn't know they were going to be this tall. I obviously should have netted them because let me show you what it actually looks like out here. They have totally toppled over. So now that I know I can grow this more as a perennial, I'm going to start netting it. So you can perennialize this. I have heard people say that when they left their yarrow, Summer Berries, or Colorado mix, that Achillea milfolium, please tell me I'm saying that right, when they leave those varieties in, that they revert back to all white. It has not happened to me yet. I'm planning on leaving this in again, and we'll see what happens next year, but I'm just gonna keep trying and seeing. So for me, leaving this in the ground kind of as a perennial is fine. The one drawback to it is that yarrow spreads. So it's awesome if it's in like open dirt, it's very easy for it to spread, but this is in landscape fabric because when I planted it, I was thinking I would rip it out, right? So because it's in landscape fabric, it's starting to be weird. Like there's the landscape fabric hole and the plant is coming out of it, but it's also trying to spread, and there's all of this vegetation under the fabrics lifting up the landscape fabric. So if I knew I was going to have perennial yarrow, I would not be growing it in landscape fabric. And I do have a section of the farm, which we'll go to next, where I have perennial, you know, yarrow that I planned on having live forever. And that is in a raised bed with no landscape fabric so that it can spread. I've heard from a lot of people that they harvest their yarrow and it wilts. The really only trick with yarrow is that you cannot harvest it too soon. If your yarrow is wilting after you cut it, you have probably harvested it too early. This is one of the flowers that kind of wants to hang out on the plant, mature. Then when you cut it, it's usually just fine. Still, it has kind of a woody stem, and woody stemmed flowers kind of like have a little bit harder time sucking up water. So I make sure that I always have my bucket with me, and as I'm cutting and stripping my stems, I'm just putting them in a bucket of deep water, kind of like with the Orlaya. I talked about that in my Orlaya video. And then I pop them in the cooler and let them hydrate before we sell them. So that's what I'm gonna do here, and I'll show you kind of what I'm looking for in terms of maturity level on the flower. All right, again, these have all tipped towards me, so it's kind of a mess. If I had netting in here, they would be all upright. Here's one stem, and all of these little blossoms in here are open. I can see the yellow center of all of them. That means that this stem is mature, and when I harvest this, it shouldn't wilt at all. This, can you see that on the outside of it, they're not open all the way? I can't see that yellow center in all of them. This, if I harvest it, is going to wilt for sure. And it's not going to come back from that. It's just not ready. Now, what usually happens with yarrow is it's not as straightforward as this one where everything is open. Usually what you have is you have the middle part where it's all open. We can see that those are all open. And then you have a few extra little sprays on the side, which are not open. So with a stem like this, I can choose to leave this until these are open. This middle part will probably be a little bit faded in color, but it will still be fine. Or I can harvest this, and when I strip the leaves, I will also strip off these immature little side shoots because they're just going to wilt anyways. So this is insane, but this is, can you see? So mature. All of those little blooms are open, and it has a super long stem, and these are very easy to strip. It just comes off like little feathers. I'm gonna cut this shorter. I mean, nobody, right, I don't need that. And then just plunk it right down into the water. Okay, so I'll cut another one. So this is one of those less straightforward ones. You see, very mature here, but then this little guy is not open. Neither is this guy. So I'm just gonna pop those off. I don't need the flower to worry about hydrating those or even trying. So now everything that I have on this stem is mature. It's not going to wilt. It shouldn't anyways. If I handle it properly, I'll plunk it in my water. I'm good to go. So this is what I cut. So this is gonna go in the cooler, and then we are gonna go look at something else. Okay, I am now at a different section of the farm. This is actually out by our peony field, and this is the raised bed that I was talking about that I planted with yarrow that I planned to perennialize, and it's doing great. All of this got planted last year, I think in the springtime. There's 2 varieties out here, and I am so happy that I have these on my farm. These have just been like absolute staple crops, literally since the first season that we planted them. This is called Firefly Peach Yarrow. I did not grow this from seed. I purchased bare root plants from a nursery. They mailed them to me in a box, and they looked kind of like these weird hairy creatures, and I buried them in this raised bed, and they absolutely took off. They just went crazy. We had a very good harvest last year, which was the first year that I planted them, and they came back amazing. Like you can see, they are in a raised bed. However, they are extremely tall, and the interesting thing about out here is that we have no irrigation on this bed. So there's no drip line, there's no nothing. Basically, I drag a hose with a sprinkler over here maybe once or twice a week if I remember, and this gets watered that way. And then whenever it rains, it gets watered. Yarrow is very, very drought tolerant, and they're just getting ready to be harvested. So again, this variety is called Firefly Peach, and I would say the majority of the stems are this salmony peach color that you see here, but then you start getting like other tones of peach, like a more yellow peach in the mix, and it all goes together really, really well. So I did not net these, and that was probably stupid because you can see some are starting to kind of fall over. So lesson learned on that. Okay, here's that Firefly peach. Isn't that, I mean, to me, this is like the perfect color. This is so pretty. It's so, so pretty. Even with a little bit of the variation, like the more yellow tones and then the more salmon-y tones, it all looks so good together. So I've harvested this. I'm gonna stick it in the same bucket as our summer berries yarrow. It's gonna go into the cooler and then we will revisit it in a few hours. Okay, this is the last variety that I have growing on my farm this year. I might add other varieties. I just love yarrow so much. But this is called Love Parade, and it's actually the latest to bloom, and so it's just kind of getting started. And I grew this from seed last year. The thing I really like about this particular variety, again, it's called Love Parade, is how large the little florets are. So I grabbed a stem of what we were harvesting over in the other field. So this is the summer berries, and you can see that each little floret is very teeny tiny compared to the Love Parade, which is quite a bit larger. And so I feel that this Love Parade is unique in that it looks different than most yarrow, and it's like adds a little bit more texture when you use it. Obviously, the color is perfect. It's like blush through medium pink. It's like we just can't grow enough of this. It's perfect, perfect, perfect in weddings. And we are not really harvesting this yet because if you remember, we want all the florets on each spray to be all the way open. And we're just not quite there. I mean, some of these might be almost there, but for the most part, we're still waiting for this to mature, which is fine because we have a lot of yarrow. We've got it coming out of our ears, so we don't need this to be blooming right now. Okay, it is the same day. I am in a completely different outfit because I got super dirty farming and the sun is out now, so it seems like a different day, but these have only been in the cooler for about 4 hours. They're super perky, so I'm gonna bunch them up. What I'm doing is I'm lining the flower heads up with each other. I try to do a nice, generous bundle of around 12 stems, 11 to 12 stems. Very uniform, everything's lined up. I will wrap my rubber band around it, make sure there's no leaves down in the water line. And normally I don't do this outside. There we go. And this will go right back in the bucket, and that's ready to go to a customer. This is the summer berries. This is the first one that we harvested. And this, as you can see, is a mix of lots of different colors. And so the way I have been selling this year, unless someone requests like a full mix, I'm kind of dividing this into light and dark. So we've got the lighter colors, which are like blush and peach and cream. Some of them are yellow. So I will bunch those together in bunches. And then we have like dark, which isn't that dark, but it's more like the medium pink, the brighter pinks, the more like salmon-y, saturated colors. And so I'll make bunches that are the dark colors. If you, like me, were a kid who liked to sort your crayons by color, you will love doing this. I love doing this. For some reason, it is like seriously so satisfying. Okay, it's all bundled up. Look at, it's like a cloud of color. It is so, so beautiful. I love packaging this stuff up for florists. It's so fun. And this is what we ended up with. So we've got the Firefly peach, and then this is all the summer berries. There's the lighter stuff and the darker stuff. You know, I'm gonna tell you, I think you should grow this. It is easy to grow. It comes back every year, most of the time. It dries well, and it's really, really fun to work with. I hope you plant some. So, they're like, you do have to harvest it at the right, blah, blah. Nope. Ah! Oh, sorry, Sabado. I just stepped on my cat. Do you forgive me? I'm sorry. Come here. Sabado. I didn't mean to.